Recording.
There we go.
Hello and welcome everybody to Russell's Redox Room. Thank you for joining. We do want to say up front that nothing that is said here this evening is intended to treat, cure, mitigate, or do anything with any disease or anything of that nature. We just want to be very clear about that. But now let's have some fun. So please just put in the chat any questions that you might have for Russell. I will keep track of them and get through as many as I possibly can get through. So just start filling up the chat box, and you can send them directly to me, or you can just send them to everybody. But maybe as the questions are coming in, Russell, you can just give a quick preview of what you did to first evaluate this technology, give a little bit of your background, and then the due diligence that you did to discover that this was something you would use in your practice and professionally now for a decade.
Sure. Thank you, Brian, and welcome everybody to our monthly Redox Room to get any questions answered, concerns addressed. So yes, actually, Megan and I and Brian are coming up on our 10-year anniversary. It was early June 2011 when I got a call on this exact phone from a dear friend of mine who's also a health advocate and practitioner, martial artist, and someone who had been suffering for many years, close to 10 years, from all kinds of terrible symptoms caused by a tick bite. We all know what that condition's called. And he had literally traveled around the world and spent a lot of money on all kinds of treatments and therapies for that condition, and literally nothing had worked until somebody introduced him to ASEA. And so that's what got my attention, because I had actually seen this friend, Art Robbins, in January of 2011, and he was not doing well at all. And yet, so somebody introduced him either in January or February, and it took a couple of months, but only like 3 months to undo the suffering he had been through for 10 years. So that got my attention. And then Art put me on a phone call with Dr. Rob Ward, who became a dear friend. Dr. Rob Ward wrote this book, Healthy Cells, Healthy Life. And back in those days, there was only one book available in the whole world, probably about redox signaling. It was called The Science of Healing Revealed. You can get this book through your ASEA website. It's written by Dr. Gary Samuelson. So in the first 30 days of me being introduced to ASEA, I had the great good fortune of meeting Dr. Gary Samuelson and meeting Dr. Rob Ward, who answered all my questions. And I came away from my homework realizing that if it was true that the company had figured out how to make bioactive redox signaling molecules and stabilize them so that we could actually drink them down and replenish our own bodies with these amazing little molecules, well, that would be a monumental biomedical breakthrough of the highest order. And that's exactly what we have here. 10 years later, this is the only a redox signaling supplement that's available in the world. And probably each one of you on the Zoom tonight has your own amazing experience of those molecules, and probably many people that you have helped. So in my own situation, I was looking for something to help the people that I work with, many of whom have very serious inflammatory conditions. And so as I introduced ASEA to these people, they got better faster and deeper. In other words, the redox signaling molecules helped them to get more benefit from all the good things they were already doing that I had introduced them to. And then when the healing took place, it took place at a much deeper level and was far more sustainable. In other words, people were not as vulnerable than they were before. So it's an amazing technology that we have, and we're all very lucky. So any questions, Brian?
Yeah, thank you for that overview. We do have a question around blood pressure issues and avoiding, like with the water cure, not putting the salt in the water. Can you explain maybe why you would still put the salt in the water, or should you not put the salt in the water?
Yeah, so the first thing to say is I was first introduced to the water cure by the medical doctor who made this discovery, Dr. Batman Gelage. We call him Dr. B for short. He passed away in 2004. He made his discovery in the 1970s. I didn't find out until 1997. So I've been doing the water cure for almost 25 years. And Dr. B was emphatic that a small amount of sea salt be added to the drinking water for two reasons: to alkalinize the body, because most problems are caused from over acidity, and the minerals and trace minerals that are in the sea salt will help the water molecules actually absorb into our cells, which is where we want them going. Okay, so I have helped many dozens of people over the last 25 years reduce and eventually get off their high blood pressure medication from just the water and salt, the water cure. So when we add ASEA to the mix, it's kind of an unbeatable combination for all kinds of situations. And I would just say this: you have to remember at all times that what the redox molecules are doing in your body and in the body of the person that you're sharing it with is making everything more efficient. And when cells become more efficient, they do all the things that they're normally supposed to do, including taking in nutrients, metabolizing those nutrients, and then getting rid of the toxins. Now, a lot of those toxins are just normal metabolic toxins. They get created in every healthy cell of our body. So it's not like toxins from a chemical dump nearby, although that can happen too. But even metabolic toxins, if that starts happening too quickly, one of the ways the body tries to alert you to that is by slightly raising your blood pressure, which most people can feel. They can feel a little uncomfortable. So that does not always happen, but it sometimes happens. And the best thing to do under those circumstances is to make sure you're hydrated. And if you suspect the salt in the water that you're drinking, just reduce the amount of sea salt. And if you feel that your body is healing / detoxifying too quickly in the beginning days of your ASEA journey, then just reduce the amount of ASEA that you're drinking by a few ounces or cut it in half. And most people find that if they do that and they've had any type of, I hate to say adverse reaction, because it's not an adverse reaction to the ASEA. There's no toxicity. You could drink a whole bottle a day. There's literally no toxicity possible from ASEA, from the redox molecules. But if your body is very inefficient and you start hydrating and drinking ASEA, then your body's going to become more efficient. And sometimes when that happens, your body says, hey, slow down the healing process, slow down the detox process. So I hope that helps people understand that this dynamic, the body's constantly healing, constantly wanting to perform at the absolute best levels. And that's really all that we're doing here. By drinking ASEA and using Renew 28, we're empowering the body to do what it's always trying to do, which is to function normally.
Yeah, it's a great question. And there's kind of a follow-up to it, which I think will be really enlightening. So if someone's doing the water cure perfectly, but they're doing it with cold water, because they have that preference, does that take away from the fact that they're still doing the water cure properly if they're doing it with cold water?
Yeah, so it's a great question, Brian. And, what I say to everybody with this type of a question is, if you're practicing something that works, in other words, you're doing the water cure and you're drinking cold water and you're not experiencing any negative consequences from doing that, keep doing it. Okay, so now the reason that I advocate body temperature water is primarily because most of the people that I'm introducing the water cure to have an inflammatory bowel condition. They're very uncomfortable and their digestive system is not working very well. So sipping body temperature water under those circumstances is not only recommended, but it's essential to help that person's body to gradually move to greater and greater levels of efficiency and functioning. But so there's nothing set in stone. I mean, I can make the case, and I always try to make the case, your internal body temperature is 98.6 degrees, most people. And your body works very hard, exerts a tremendous amount of energy to maintain that internal body temperature 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, in the summer, in the winter, in the spring, in the fall. And so the thinking behind body temperature water is you're not asking your body to exert energy to warm up the water. It's already perfectly in sync with your internal body temperature. So especially when people are sick, especially when people have compromised or health challenges, the body temperature water is really ideal. And most people know that. If you talk to people who are sick or challenged, they've already realized that drinking cold anything does not work for them, okay? But if you're healthy and vibrant and, running marathons and, if you're experiencing a level of health that you want, then drinking cold water should not be a problem. I mean, it's only a problem if you're experiencing a negative symptom. And typically the negative symptoms associated with drinking cold anything are gas, stomach pains, headaches, things like that. So if you're not having any of those type of symptoms, then please keep drinking the cold water to help your body hydrate.
Yeah, so essentially best practice is pretty logical. Your body's at a certain temperature. Why not stick with that? If you absolutely have to drink cold water, you're taking more of a risk doing it. That's kind of the basic principle there.
So I tell people all the time, and Brian has seen me do this. This is my famous little water bottle. It's an old quart-size milk bottle. There was milk in there once upon a time. So even on the hottest day of the summer, I will make a quart of body temperature water and bring that outside with me in the backyard. And, 95 degrees, I'm hot, I'm sweating. I'm drinking that warm water and salt, and that cools my body faster than drinking cold water. So that's a very interesting phenomenon, and that's a true phenomenon. And if you've never done that, try it. It's really quite amazing.
Yeah. Another really good question here around the question is essentially, can you talk about how when someone is taking redox, how the body is able to better pull out the nutrients from our food or maybe other supplements that we might be taking? Like, why is there a difference when you take redox than if you weren't taking redox?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's one of my favorite questions, or one of my favorite things to explain. So, so the whole issue of eating food and taking plant-based supplements is we want those micronutrients to be properly broken down. So that's digestion. And then we want them assimilated. So that happens in the small intestine, 24 feet of small intestine. The assimilation from our intestines into our liver, and then from the liver into our bloodstream, into our blood and lymph. Every cell of our body is surrounded by or fed by or is floating in blood, fluid, or lymphatic fluid. Okay, so that's where we want the micronutrients to get into our blood and into our lymph. And then the question is, well, how do those micronutrients get inside the cells of our body? All different types of cells. And if you can look this up. You can Google cell structures, and you'll see that one of the most important structures of any cell is the cell membrane. I think of it as a water balloon. So it's like the outer part of the balloon is very similar to the membrane of every cell of your body. And then if you could zero in and look microscopically at the cell membrane, you'd see that there were thousands of individual openings. And these are called portals, P-O-R-T-A-L-S. It's another word for all these connecting points on the cell membrane. But just think of them as openings, as gateways, as portals. And every single opening, every single gate has a gatekeeper. And the purpose of the gatekeeper is to identify the micronutrients floating by in the blood and lymph, to identify not just micronutrients, but water and oxygen. And then that gatekeeper opens on the cell membrane, allowing those micronutrients, water, and oxygen into the cell. Well, the gatekeeper is redox signaling molecules. The gatekeeper function is controlled and mediated by redox signaling molecules, which means that if you look at a body that is deficient in redox signaling molecules, even if they're eating good food, even if they're drinking good water, even if they're taking micronutrients, good supplements, they may not be getting the full benefit. In fact, they're probably not. They're definitely not. And that's why so many people are following a relatively good diet. They're already taking good supplements, good quality supplements, but they don't feel well. They're not really getting the benefit. And then all they've done is add a SIA and hopefully got a little better hydrated, and it's night and day. And it can happen in a few days, but it definitely would happen in a few weeks, because the redox potential of their body is now moving closer to normal. And so everything that they're doing, any and all complementary things that they're doing, exercise, better diet, all the supplements they're taking, all of those things are being more fully utilized at the cellular level because of the redox signaling molecules in ASEA or Renew 28.
Yeah, it's really a fascinating explanation, and a great follow-up question just came in. So the question is, based on your career and what you do, is there anything else on the marketplace right now that does anything like what redox, like what you just explained about redox? Does anything else do that?
Not that I know of. I mean, there isn't any other redox signaling supplement. Now, the goal of every supplement maker in the world, they're all scientists, that they understand what I just explained. So they're all trying to create ways for the nutrients to get into the cells more efficiently. So that's well known throughout, the nutritional world. And sometimes that just means better quality nutrients. For example, chlorophyll is one of the most important micronutrients. Chlorophyll is the blood of green plants. The reason we're supposed to eat green foods is because the chlorophyll is like a blood transfusion. It strengthens our red blood cells. It brings oxygen to our cells, okay? But chlorophyll is also a very sensitive, a very delicate micronutrient, and it's easily destroyed in the supplement making process. So if you notice, there are not many chlorophyll type supplements in the marketplace because it's very sensitive. It gets destroyed very easily. So the same thing is true for every type of vitamin, every type of mineral, trace mineral, amino acid, all of these plant-based nutritionals. If you could eat them all from the plant itself, from the carrot, from the tomato, from the Brussels sprout, that's the ideal situation. Supplements exist because the supplement makers know that people aren't going to take 100% responsibility for every single thing they eat, and so they need supplements. But the supplements are only as good as the manufacturer is able to maintain the integrity of those micronutrients through the manufacturing process. And that's a very difficult thing to do. I know when I first started using nutritional supplements in the 80s, supplement companies were ecstatic if they could show a 10% absorption rate. So in other words, 90% of the nutrients in the supplement were just going through your body and ending up in the toilet bowl. So today, the absorption rates are a lot higher, but they're not 100%. But when you start drinking ASEA and you're also taking nutritional supplements, it's moving towards 100%. And that, again, that's another reason why people have these incredible breakthrough experiences, because the food they're eating gets better absorbed, the supplements they're taking gets better absorbed and assimilated into the cells. And there really is nothing else that I'm aware of that has that kind of impact that the redox molecules have.
Yeah, awesome. Before the next question, I just want to say a shout out to Jenny. Thank you for your very kind words. That was very nice of you. Thank you so much, Jenny. The next question is kind of piggybacking on that, Russell, to say, kind of based on what you were just saying, have you seen, like, is there a combination of redox and supplements that you feel like as a general practice you can recommend to people? Like, kind of, is there a mix of redox and supplements that you see you could recommend pretty much across the board?
Yes, it's called the ASEA Via line of nutritional products. Yeah, I mean, these products came out maybe 3 years ago. Maybe it'll be 4 years this August. But, I've said for many, many years that, when you walk down the nutritional aisle at the health food store or at Whole Foods Market, it's astonishing how many different types of products exist. And how does anybody figure out, what they need, and how do you select out of 100 different types of nutritionals? So I've realized over the years that there really are only a few most essential categories. And one category is what we call superfoods. Okay, and so this would be your classic multivitamin, multimineral, digestive enzyme, nutrient-dense plant-based foods, supplements. So that's what we have in the ASEA Via source. It is a marvelous superfood supplement. Okay, so that covers that category. And then everybody needs a good full spectrum probiotic. And I used exclusively for about 30 years the probiotics from one company. But 3 years ago, when ASEA came out with their probiotic, I didn't switch overnight. I'm a very hard sell. And of course, this is my wheelhouse, digestive wellness. But over a period of months, I introduced Biome to several of my clients, many of whom had, serious digestive system challenges. And I just saw across the board that it was more effective than anything I had been using before. So I'm very happy with this probiotic Biome from ASEA. And then, everybody needs a good, longevity formula, anti-aging formula, high antioxidant type supplements from herbs and mushrooms and things like that. And that's what ASEA put together in their product called Life Max. So I recommend that as well. And then there really is a case to be made for the omega-3 and omega-6 essential fatty acids. A lot of people take fish oil concentrate or fish oil supplements to get these omega-3 and omega-6 essential fatty acids for brain health, for heart health, cardiovascular health. And so ASEA has a product called Omega, which is, again, a very, very best quality fish oil concentrate, omega-6 essential fatty acids. So if you're hydrated, you pay attention to your food, pay attention to your habits, drink ASEA, use Renew 28, and have these core nutritionals. I mean, that's an unbeatable combination. And that's why, many people in the ASEA community can say proudly that ASEA Redox is the best cellular health company in the world. So I don't think that anybody would need to look beyond those core products to address most of their health and nutritional needs.
Yeah, brilliant. And maybe I'm just going to kind of add this question in, the clients that you have and patients that you've had over the years, Russell, have been severely challenged, to put it lightly. And, you have been able to use the protocol that you've kind of basically just went over with some other things, of course, to make it individual, but you've seen dramatic improvements in healing just with what you just said, not having to go in and use all kinds of different medications or all those things. It can be a pretty simple formula for health. Is that fair to say, or how would you respond to that?
Yeah, that's fair to say. Absolutely fair to say. You need superfoods with digestive enzymes. That's one category. You need probiotics. That's another category. You need antioxidant-rich food. So that's the third category that Life Max is. And then you need omega essential fatty acids, omega-3 and omega-6 essential fatty acids. You need to eat good food. You need to pay attention to your habits. You need to chew your food. You need to not eat late at night. You need to not eat fast. All those most simple common sense things. But beyond that, those basic nutritional categories, and you're hydrated and your redox potential is normal, that's a very comprehensive approach to your nutritional needs.
Awesome. We have a question here. Can you explain the reductant part of the redox process?
So, sure. There are two types of redox signaling molecules. The word redox is made up of the word reductant and the word oxidant. So if you can picture, redox signaling molecules are all doing their thing at the level of electron transfer. So you think of a cell is a very big thing compared to an electron. The electrons are things swirling around atoms. Atoms make up molecules, molecules make up cells, okay? So the redox exchange, the donating or taking away of redox molecules is happening at that absolute tiniest level of our physiological activity. So a reductant donates an electron to a situation where a molecule is suffering from free radical damage. And so by donating an electron, it neutralizes the free radical activity. And then that cell can repair itself. In the situation, so you have a situation, oxidative stress is the underlying root cause of most negative health challenges. And oxidative stress means that there's excess free radical activity. The free radicals are molecules that are disturbing the balance of a normal situation. And there's either too many oxidants or not enough reductants. So in all these situations, there's an imbalance. And so when a person drinks ASEA, the redox molecules go to all the cells of your body, and where the cells need reductants, they will contribute and then neutralize the free radical activity. And where there's excessive, then the oxidants will take away electrons and then neutralize the free radical activity. I think if we get any more complicated than that, it'll be too complicated. But that's really what makes this, another thing that makes this such a phenomenal breakthrough, is that you literally, for the first time in history, we have the ability to neutralize free radicals at the deepest level in our physiology. So reductants donate electrons, and oxidants take away electrons. And when they do that in balance, then the oxidative stress disappears, and the cell is finally able to repair itself and then regenerate itself in a very healthy way.
Well, that was a great question and an absolutely extraordinary answer. And thank you for the question, Nancy. Hold on a second.
And I learned that about redox molecules from Dr. Ward and Dr. Samuelson. I've read this book by Dr. Samuelson at least 20 or 30 times because I didn't understand redox. I didn't understand reductants or oxidants in the beginning at all. But I feel I understand them now. But you don't have to understand that level of physiology to help people, to benefit yourself or to help other people benefit from these amazing little molecules. But it is fascinating.
It is. A question came in that I'm just going to kind of handle very quickly because it's worthy of a quick handling. So the question is around, someone had an issue, they tried redox, they didn't perceive that it helped, so they stopped. Essentially, whenever that happens, you can be very confident in your communication, and you can also ask for help to explain this, that the redox is working 100% of the time. That's a scientific fact. So it worked. Whether the person perceived that it worked or not is their perception. And the invitation is always to increase the amount that they were taking and increase the time. You know, Russell has a story of one of the things that was in his life as a human being at 55, 60 years old, or 50, 55 years old, that literally took 2 years of taking redox for it to go away. 2 years of something that had been passed down through the men in his family from generation to generation to generation. So hopefully that answers that question. And question, thank you, Holly.
Yeah, and, so Brian, just want to clarify so people aren't, they might be wondering any number of conditions that were passed on, but this was a circulatory condition. My hands and feet were always very cold. for like 25 years. And I tried everything, nothing worked. And drinking a sea every day, it took 2 years to completely eliminate that condition for my body. I now have normal circulation. I have warm hands and feet, even on the coldest winter day. And that was not true for a very long time, almost 30 years as an adult. So again, the redox signaling molecules turn that switch back on for normal circulation. That's a genetic thing. So again, the redox molecules are operating, functioning, directing activity at the tiniest level of our cellular activity inside the nucleus of our cell where all the genetic codes are.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for showing up live to Russell's Redox Room. Thank you for your participation. Thank you for your great questions. Thank you, Russell, for your brilliance and clarity in talking about these incredible molecules that are so in service to all of our health and well-being. And if you are someone who is up for sharing what you learned tonight with someone, please do that. You can have all the confidence in the world that what you're doing is a good thing. It is of good nature. And thank you for doing that. Thank you for participating. Have a wonderful night and a great week. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Bye-bye. See you,
Bye-bye.
Jeff.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.